Hi, I'm Charlotte Odulade Akeju, and this is Charlie's Thread, my journey to self. I started this journey with you, being vulnerable, to talk about the things that has gotten me to where I am today and owning my story. This is a process where I'm not focused on the outcome, but I'm actually focused on enjoying the journey I'm on. And it requires a level of reflection as I go on this journey. I want to talk about something very unique, something that has defined me all through my life, and that has been my faith. I'm a Christian. I'm a lover of God. I'm a Jesus girl. I would say that my faith has been the foundation for everything that I've birthed or everything that has helped me through my journey. A journey that has been riddled with, doubt, riddled with fear, riddled with uncertainty, low self esteem. But I also remember very clearly that the moment and the day that I decided to give my life to Christ was where I knew that there was something special about me. So let's talk about that. I remember attending a program in university, and it was a youth program organized by the Rock Foundation, and it was actually a theater, a play, like a play, and I had Ike Osakidowa and Osi Okeje playing a particular role, and it was really about the story of a woman's journey to finding Jesus. Sitting in the audience, I remember feeling like they were telling my story. And even though I'd been a Christian most of my life, even though I'd been a Christian since I was 8, in fact, I started speaking in tongues at the age of 8, it was that moment that I knew that I really wanted to live a life for God. And so when the altar call was, said, I raised up my hands, I came out, and I accepted Jesus as my Lord and Savior. And that moment was the most defining moment of my Christian journey. I decided at that point that I wanted to do whatever it takes to prioritize my relationship with God. And, as someone who was of newfound faith at the time, I decided I was going to put in the work. There were moments where I would pray for something and it would happen in school, or I would pray for it was just so many accountants. I would pray for maybe a test questions to be written exactly the way I wanted it, and it would happen. Or I would be broke in school and I'll pray for God to just provide for me, and somebody would call me and give me money. Like, I saw God show up for me as a child who was in school. I didn't really have a father. And so thus began my faith journey, and as I began to grow as a Christian, I served God. I wanted to love God. But I figured, I actually at that point was even thinking that, my love for God had to be performatory. So I joined the fellowship in school. I was doing a lot of things that, got me into the leadership in church. It was very performative, now that I look back. But I will say one thing for sure. I've always realized that every time I came to a crossroad, or every time I had uncertainty, anytime I wasn't sure what I was supposed to do next, the minute I turned to God, the minute I was vulnerable about it in the presence of God, I found my answers. Even as I got pregnant, even as I gave birth to my kids, even as I became a mother, a wife, all of the things that defined me in the last 10 years, God stood by me. My life is filled with so many testimonies of how God covered me. What could look like shame, He made glorious. Sometimes I don't understand the process, but I'm learning that it doesn't even matter anymore. That what matters is that I'm able to trust God wholly. I speak about my faith because it is the most pronounced thing about my life. I am nothing, and I would not be anything without my faith in God. I would be scared to even start this journey with you. The idea behind Charlie's Thread is to give everyone a glimpse of the woman I am, and be a reflection of the woman that you can be as well. Life is not perfect. I don't think it will ever be. But I do know one thing for sure. Once you have a bird's eye view like God on what your lifetime will look like, you would rest. You would rest knowing one thing: everything is working together for your good. I don't know how this series are going to go. I don't know what this conversation are going to look like, but I'm just walking in obedience right now. I'm walking in obedience by choosing to share from a vulnerable place, to let the world know that the one thing that defines me is my will to please God. I just want to please God. People would say, oh, I want this, I want so many, I have so many big ambitions. And there was a time I did. There was a time I would tell you about my plans, time I could tell you about what I wanted to do in my life. But the only thing that matters right now is that I live a life that is pleasing to God. That I live a life that fully shows and expresses the fruits of the Spirit. If you're not born again, if you don't know Jesus, I think it's time you got to know him. Yes, it's time you got to know him. God bless you.